Welcome to today's demonstration where I'll be taking you through the Knowledge Capture Complaints Management solution. The first demonstration I've got lined up is to show the different channels in which we can capture complaints and have them brought into a central system. If I run a search for the case search screen, this then provides me with a list of work queues that I can search across. So these are all different work queues within the organisation that use the central platform, which is the Knowledge Capture system. I'm particularly interested in complaints, so I can select the complaints queue, and as soon as I hit search, I'm then provided with a list of results relating to the complaints queue. So these are all of the complaints that have come through the business. We can clearly see there's different highlighting within these complaints, so anything in red means it's exceeded an SLA deadline, anything in orange means it's approaching an SLA deadline. On the left hand side we can see if there's little locks against certain cases. It means they're currently being used by other people within the organisation. It means I can look at it as a read-only mode, but that's about it. At the bottom we can see a case in bold. So this is a brand new case that's come into the system. So let's open this one up and see what the content is about. So the first message we have within the system has come from Twitter. So we can tell by the icon that's within the viewer here. And if we look at the content, we've received some terrible customer service from your team. I would not recommend your company, and I'm probably going to cancel my account. So although this particular message does not contain the word complaint, clearly we're able to pick this up and understand that this person is unhappy about the service they've received, and it is a high priority complaint. The way we've understood and automatically created this case is by using the Knowledge Capture platform, its content analytic capabilities, where it utilises sentiment analysis and natural language processing. Our technology does not just rely on keywords. We look at the entire end-to-end message, how the content is structured, and bring this all together in order to understand whether or not this is a complaint. If I go back into my general work queue, and if I select this message here that looks to be approaching its SLA deadline, this message is actually an email. So in here, the icon again has been updated. We've got message and content in here. The consultant was very rude and generally very difficult to deal with. But again, it's our analytics, our natural language processing that has made a decision and decided that this is a complaint message and therefore it should go through to the complaints queue. So as you can see within the KC complaint system, the look and feel is very much the same, and it does not matter what channel the communication has come in from. So far we've covered Twitter and email. We can also manage physical white mail, so whether it comes into the business as a physical letter, or we can integrate with fax systems, SMS systems, and have all of this content brought into a central platform for the complaints team to manage and process throughout the business. So the next phase of managing complaints within an organisation is being able to respond back to a customer. Because we analyse all content that comes through the system, we're able to prioritise these messages based on a high, medium or low prioritisation. We can then build automatic workflows that then will publish content back out to the customer if, for example, a high priority complaint comes into the system. For a more personalised feel though, an agent using this system can also respond from inside the case manager system across a wide range of channels. In the middle here we have the case documents related to this particular case, where we can generate physical letters that can go out to this customer. We can send emails, but in this case, as it's a tweet that's come into the system, we should probably respond by social media as well. So by clicking on the social media button, the KC case management system knows that this social media channel is Twitter, therefore the response should be going back out. In the bottom right hand corner you can also see the character count is 140 to stay compliant with Twitter's rules. As we start to build out a message back to the customer, we can take the unique complaint reference ID that's generated by the KC complaint system, and we can populate that back to the customer. So now I've got my message, we can say sorry to hear you're having issues, and we've provided them with a reference number. It could be a case of after this first interaction on social media, you may then want to take it to a more private channel. You can then start to introduce maybe email or phone correspondence and have that managed through the same system. Where the knowledge capture system differentiates itself within the market though, is our natural language processing and sentiment analysis also works on all outbound messages. If, for example, a user within your customer service team decided to swear back to a customer, they might have had a bad day at work and they've been generally rude, they've used inappropriate language, so whether it's profanity, racism, sexism, or even if they start to use terms that within the industry shouldn't be sent out across a public platform. So terms such as guarantee or risk-free, so high-risk phrases that could potentially land the organisation in trouble. Our software automatically picks up when this content is used and will stop this from being published onto social media platforms, or it will stop an email being sent back out to that customer. So at this stage, if I take you into some of the wider features and functions of the knowledge capture case management system, this message that's automatically created a case as well has come from Facebook this time. So again, another channel that we've integrated our platform with. But in the top left-hand corner, we get all of the case details associated so far. So we have things such as complaint reference numbers that have automatically been generated, the date and timestamps as to when this came into the business, and we can then start to assign certain resolution owners and complaint types as well. As we go through this, we can automatically define it to a certain work queue, and we start to understand who is the last user, the last agent within the system to actually interact with this content. Policy numbers and contact details can also be populated into the system, and we can integrate with back-end CRM tools where existing policy information, existing customer data may already be available. We can then bring that back into the central system so the agent has a 360-degree view of that customer and can understand how to process this. In the middle, we have all of the documentation, both inbound and outbound, relating to this case so far. And at the bottom, we also have case notes as well. So this is ad hoc information that can be added to a case, say, for example, when an agent is on the phone with this person and is getting additional information relating to their complaint. Now, within the knowledge capture system, there is a process behind the scenes that drives all of this forward, and we call this a checklist. So a checklist is a defined business process that enables a user to follow a structured set of steps in order to resolve this particular complaint. So we can see that the first steps within this case have already been completed. So the case has been re-indexed and acknowledgement has been sent back out to the customer. So we can see the outbound post here. It's gone back out onto the social channel with their complaint reference number. We've also contacted the customer separately to agree conditions of satisfaction, and a case note has been created and is currently within the system. If I look at the case notes down here, we can see conditions of satisfaction case note. And if I open this up, we can see that the nature of the complaint was around bank charges and they're looking for a refund. Back within my checklist, if I go all the way to the bottom, we can then start to agree response deadlines. So in this case, if I want to set an agreed deadline and click update, this will then allow me to set a deadline as to when this case needs to be completed by. So for example, this case needs to be completed by tomorrow midday. I can then set that within the system and it will update the SLAs. The next step in this particular process could be to reach back out to the customer and agree that conditions of satisfaction, agree how we can get to that stage so that it can be processed and signed off. This checklist process is very much like a tree-like structure where a certain answer will then drive the next step of actions a case user has to take in order to process this all the way through to resolution. Another critical component of the KC complaints management system is being able to report on all of this rich data that is being processed and managed within this case system. This is where reporting comes into play, and a big differentiator of the knowledge capture system is it's all linked together and all available in real time. So in this particular dashboard view, we've got reasons for the call, we've got issues, root cause analysis, all available on different charts. But what we're able to do is take a deeper look into this data in real time to understand where the issues are coming from. If, for example, we look at partial withdrawal being the biggest reason for the call in this top left chart, I can simply click on this data and it updates the rest of my chart views. We can now see in the root cause analysis 368 are client errors. By clicking on this chart, it then changes the data again. Now this brings real value and insights to the business when they're trying to work out why their customers are complaining. Rather than having to leverage the IT department to try and pull this data out of other systems, it's available to them in order for them to drill down and access the information they want in real time. This is not the only panel available as well, and we can also look at this content across the timeline. So with this particular chart, you can start to see the peaks and troughs as to when complaints have come through the system. We can probably make the assumption that the troughs here are on weekends, whereas during the week we get a much higher number of complaints coming through the business. Again, at any one stage, if you want to drill into a particular day, that then updates the rest of the charts to show the reasons, issues, root cause analysis of those particular complaints that came through the system. So other insights and other value that we can see from this particular reporting view is we can break down why these calls came in. So if we just look at phone calls that came through the system, we can then start to see the peaks and troughs. It could be that on Tuesdays, we suddenly get peaks within this data. We then may need to reallocate resource within the business so that on Tuesdays we have more people on the phone lines. From a management and business perspective, we're also able to look at how many cases are being processed by the users using this system. So this is great for insights to understand how well your workers are processing content, and if there's any issues within the team based on either the volume that they're processing or the time it takes for them to actually process the content. On the chart in the top left-hand corner, we can see on the far right, Berry Tawanda seems to be processing the much higher volume than anyone else within the system. It could be within the business, we need to try and understand why she's able to process so much more than everyone else. But when we take a look at another user up in the top left, Anna, it seems as though she's processing about an average number of cases, but seems to be taking far longer to process this content. It could be that she is a specialist within the business and that she gets passed through the particularly difficult cases and therefore they take much longer to process. It could be she's brand new and needs a bit more training in order to bring the days to process cases down as well. Again, at the bottom we get the actual timeline view as well, so we can start to understand how many cases have been processed by each of these reps. So if I click on any one of these, it then starts to give me a personalized timeline. So this can be exposed to the wider business, so the admins, the management levels within the organization, but it can also be exposed to the actual users themselves. So they can start to track their progress. So it could be a case of they haven't progressed as many calls as what they should be on a certain day, therefore they need to make it up throughout the rest of the week. They can track against their own SLAs and their own business processes in order to provide a much better service to their end customers. The overall goal of having these reports available is for the business to be able to make informed decisions. So no longer do you have to work based on guesswork and hunches. You can look at the data that's being processed by your caseworkers and you can make those decisions based on the outputs and the outcomes of that information. So this concludes today's demonstration of the Knowledge Capture Complaints Management System. We covered off the different channels in which communication can come into the business and still be managed by a central platform, including unstructured sources such as social media and emails. Covered off the general case capabilities, such as being able to respond back to a customer through the channel that they got in contact to, being able to process cases via checklists in order to make sure agents are following that business process, and how we can report on all of this information as it comes through the system, driving real business intelligence in order for them to make critical business decisions, realign resources, and understand how well the company is doing against their SLAs. If you'd like any more information, then please contact us at sales@integrity.com, or you can view our website, which is kc-ol.com/complaints.php. Thank you very much for your time.